Most gardeners harvest for maybe 4 to 5 months per year. They plant in May, harvest from July through September, and then their garden goes dormant for 7 or 8 months. I used to garden that way too. Today, I harvest fresh vegetables every single day of the year. January, February, March, the coldest, darkest months. I'm still picking fresh lettuce, spinach, kale, and other greens. I never buy salad greens at the grocery store anymore because my garden produces them continuously, even when there's snow on the ground. This isn't about having a heated greenhouse or living in a warm climate. I'm in a cold climate with hard freezes and snow. This is about understanding season extension techniques that let you grow food 12 months a year using simple, inexpensive structures. 5 years ago, my last harvest was always in early October. By mid-October, frost killed my tomatoes and peppers. By November, everything was dead, and I was buying all my vegetables from the store until the following June. That meant 7 months of paying grocery store prices for produce, and those winter prices are brutal. A head of organic lettuce that costs $3 in summer costs $6 or $7 in January. I was spending probably $60 to $80 per week on produce during winter months. Over 7 months, that's nearly $2,000 spent on vegetables I could have been growing. The breakthrough came when I understood that many vegetables are actually cold hardy and can survive freezing temperatures if you protect them from wind and provide a few degrees of temperature buffer. Lettuce, spinach, kale, chard, mache, claytonia, arugula, Asian greens. These crops can handle temperatures well below freezing. Some can survive down to the low 20s or even teens Fahrenheit. The problem isn't the cold itself. It's the combination of cold, wind, and lack of protection. When we give garden plants protection with simple structures, they thrive through winter. Cold frames are the simplest and most effective season extension tool I've ever used. A cold frame is basically a bottomless box with a transparent top that captures solar heat and protects plants from wind. The concept is ancient. Gardeners have used cold frames for centuries, but modern materials make them easier and cheaper than ever. My first cold frames cost about $30 each to build using scrap lumber and old windows. Today I have 8 cold frames that extend my growing season by 5 full months on both ends, starting earlier in spring and continuing much later into fall and winter. Here's how they work. During the day, even in winter, sunlight enters through the transparent top and warms the air and soil inside the cold frame. The enclosed space traps this heat, creating a greenhouse effect. Temperatures inside a cold frame can be 20 to 30 degrees warmer than outside air temperature on a sunny winter day. At night, the soil and plants release stored heat gradually. The transparent top prevents heat loss. The sides block wind, which is crucial because wind dramatically increases heat loss from plants. So even though it might be 25 degrees outside, inside the cold frame, it might stay above freezing all night. The crops I grow in cold frames are specifically chosen for cold hardiness. Lettuce is my primary winter crop. I plant cold-tolerant varieties like Winter Density, Arctic King, and North Pole. These varieties were bred specifically for winter growing and can handle much colder temperatures than summer lettuce. Spinach is incredibly cold hardy. It actually gets sweeter after frost as the plant converts starches to sugars for freeze protection. I grow Bloomsdale, long-standing, and space spinach varieties through winter. Kale is nearly indestructible. Lacinato kale and winterbore kale survive brutal cold, and the flavor improves dramatically after freezing temperatures. Mache, also called corn salad, is a traditional European winter green that survives temperatures down to single digits. Asian greens like mizuna, tatsoi, and bok choy are excellent for winter growing under cover. I start my winter crops in late summer and early fall, which is counterintuitive for most gardeners. In late August and September, when summer gardens are still producing, I'm planting seeds for my winter harvest. Lettuce seeds go in the ground in early September, spinach in late September, kale and Asian greens in October. These plants grow during the still warm fall months, establishing strong root systems and reaching harvest size before winter really hits. By the time temperatures drop into the 20s and 30s consistently, my plants are already mature and ready to harvest. They don't grow much during the coldest, darkest months of December and January. Growth nearly stops, but they don't die either. They just sit there in semi-dormancy, and I harvest leaves as needed. The key to winter harvesting is understanding that you're not trying to grow plants through winter. You're trying to keep already grown plants alive through winter so you can harvest them. Think of it like a living refrigerator rather than a growing season. I grow the plants to full size in fall, and then I preserve them alive in my cold frames through winter, harvesting as needed. This distinction is crucial because it changes your planting timing entirely. If you try to plant lettuce in December and expect it to grow to harvest size, you'll fail. But if you plant in September, grow it to size by November, and then simply maintain it through December and January, you'll have fresh lettuce all winter. Building a cold frame is incredibly simple. The most basic design is a wooden box frame with the back higher than the front, creating a sloped top. The slope faces south to maximize sun exposure and allow rain and snow to slide off. Dimensions can vary, but a typical cold frame is 4 feet wide by 8 feet long, with the back 12 inches tall and the front 8 inches tall. I build the frames from untreated lumber. 2x6s or 2x8s work perfectly. The sides are simply boards screwed together to form a rectangular box. No floor is needed. The frame sits directly on the soil or raised bed. The top is an old window, clear polycarbonate plastic or greenhouse plastic stretched over a frame. I hinge the top so I can open it for ventilation and harvesting. Ventilation is critical for cold frame success. On sunny days, even in winter, cold frames can overheat if the tops are closed. Temperatures inside can reach 80 or 90 degrees on a sunny 40-degree day, which will cook your plants. I open the tops whenever temperatures are above freezing and sunny. Many gardeners use automatic vent openers, temperature-sensitive pistons that automatically open the frame when it gets too warm and close when it cools down. These cost about $35 and are worth every penny because they prevent overheating even when you're not home. The planting strategy for cold frames differs from regular gardening. I plant much more densely because the plants aren't growing to full size. They're being maintained. Lettuce that would normally be spaced 8 inches apart can be planted at 4-inch spacing in a cold frame. I can fit 30 to 40 lettuce heads in a 4x8 cold frame. I also succession plant within the cold frame. As I harvest lettuce from one section, I replant that section with new starts. This gives me continuous production, even though individual plants grow slowly in winter. Harvesting from cold frames in winter is a special experience. On a January morning when it's 15 degrees outside, I walk out to my garden, lift the cold frame top, and pick fresh, crisp lettuce that's been growing under protection. The contrast between the frozen landscape and the fresh green vegetables under the frame is remarkable. I harvest by removing outer leaves from lettuce and greens, leaving the growing point intact so the plant continues producing. A single lettuce plant can provide leaves for weeks or even months using this cut-and-come-again method. I typically harvest 2 to 3 times per week from each cold frame, getting enough greens for daily salads for my entire family. The economics of winter cold frame growing are compelling. Each cold frame cost me about $30 to $40 to build using basic materials. I built 8 cold frames, so my total investment was roughly $300. These frames allow me to harvest greens from October through April, 7 months that I would otherwise buy from the store. At a conservative estimate of $10 per week in greens, that's $70 per month or $490 over 7 months. My 8 cold frames save me nearly $500 annually, meaning they paid for themselves in less than 1 year. I'm now in year 5 with my original frames, which means I've saved over $2,000 so far with a one-time $300 investment. Beyond cold frames, I use row covers for season extension with crops that need more space. Row covers are lightweight fabric blankets that drape over plants or hoops, providing frost protection and wind protection while allowing light, air, and water through. I use heavyweight row cover rated for 8 degrees of frost protection. I place hoops over my raised beds and drape the row cover over the hoops, securing the edges with sandbags or soil. This creates a tunnel of protection over a whole bed. Under row covers, I grow larger winter crops that don't fit in cold frames: winter cabbage, Brussels sprouts, leeks, carrots, and parsnips. These crops are incredibly cold-hardy, but benefit from wind protection and a few degrees of frost protection. Carrots and parsnips actually improve in flavor after freezing. The cold converts starches to sugars, making them incredibly sweet. I've harvested carrots from frozen ground in January, and they're the best carrots of the year. Leeks are nearly indestructible and stand in the garden all winter under row cover. Succession planting is crucial for year-round harvest. Instead of planting all my lettuce at once, I plant a new batch every 2 weeks from March through October. This gives me lettuce at different stages of maturity continuously. In fall, I accelerate succession planting every week in September and October to ensure I have plenty of young plants going into winter. Even though growth slows dramatically in December and January, the succession-planted crops come into maturity at different times in spring, extending the harvest window. Timing is everything in year-round gardening. I've learned to work backward from desired harvest dates. If I want lettuce in January, I need to plant in early September so it's full size by November. If I want spinach in February, I plant in late September. For spring harvest under cover, I plant in late winter, February and March, and those crops are ready in April and May, weeks before outdoor planted crops. This spring acceleration means I'm harvesting fresh vegetables in April when most gardeners are just starting to plant. Variety selection is critical. Not all vegetable varieties will survive winter, even with protection. I specifically choose varieties bred for cold tolerance and winter growing. Seed catalogs list varieties as winter hardy, cold tolerant, or slow bolting. Johnny's Selected Seeds, Territorial Seed, and High Mowing Seeds all have excellent winter variety selections. Some of my favorite winter varieties include winter density lettuce, Bloomsdale spinach, lacinato kale, Hakurei turnips, tatsoi Asian greens, and mache corn salad. Soil preparation for winter growing is different from summer growing. Winter crops grow slowly, so they need soil that's rich in nutrients from the start. I add extra compost in fall before planting winter crops. 4 to 6 inches of finished compost worked into the top few inches of soil. I also add balanced organic fertilizer to ensure plants have everything they need. Winter soil also needs good drainage. Wet, waterlogged soil freezes harder and damages roots more than well-drained soil. Watering winter crops is minimal but important. Growth is slow, so water needs are much lower than summer crops. However, plants still need moisture, and soil under cover doesn't receive rain or snow. I water my cold frames about once every 2 weeks in winter, more frequently if we have sunny, dry weather. I water in the morning on days when temperatures will be above freezing. Pest pressure in winter is almost non-existent, which is a wonderful bonus. Aphids, beetles, caterpillars, all the summer pests are gone. The lack of pest pressure means my winter crops are pristine, perfect leaves with no damage. Disease pressure is also very low in winter. The taste of winter-grown vegetables is superior to summer vegetables in many cases. Cold temperatures trigger plants to produce sugars as a natural antifreeze. Lettuce grown in cold frames is sweeter and crisper than summer lettuce. Spinach from winter gardens is incredibly sweet and tender. Kale becomes mild and sweet after freezing temperatures. Carrots dug from frozen ground are like candy. Winter vegetables are also more nutritious. Cold stress increases vitamin and antioxidant content in many vegetables. The satisfaction of winter harvesting goes beyond economics and nutrition. There's something deeply satisfying about walking out on a snowy day, opening a cold frame and picking fresh lettuce. It feels like beating the system. Neighbors think I'm crazy when they see me harvesting greens in February, but when I give them bags of fresh spinach in the dead of winter, they understand. The food security aspect is also meaningful. Knowing I can produce food year-round provides peace of mind. The infrastructure investment is remarkably low for the returns. 8 cold frames at $40 each is $320. Row cover fabric at $50. Total investment, roughly $370. Annual savings on winter produce, approximately $500 on greens alone. The system paid for itself in less than 1 year and will continue producing for many years. If you want to start year-round gardening, begin small. Build 1 cold frame this summer and plant lettuce in it in early September. Experience winter harvesting with 1 frame before expanding. Your first harvest of fresh lettuce in December will be a revelation. 1 cold frame can supply salad greens for a family of 4 all winter long. The most common mistake beginners make is planting too late. They think of winter growing as a winter activity, so they try to plant in November or December. But you must plant in late summer and fall for winter harvest. Think of September and October as your winter planting season. The second common mistake is choosing the wrong varieties. You cannot use summer lettuce varieties for winter growing. Use specifically cold-hardy varieties. Resources that helped me include Elliot Coleman's books, 4-Season Harvest, and the Winter Harvest Handbook. Coleman is the pioneer of modern winter growing in cold climates. Nikki Jabber's The Year-Round Vegetable Gardener is another excellent resource. Johnny's Selected Seeds has extensive information on their website about winter growing. 5 years ago, I couldn't imagine harvesting fresh vegetables in winter. Today, it's normal. I expect fresh salad greens every day of the year. When people ask how I do it, I tell them it's not about heated greenhouses or expensive technology. It's about simple season extension techniques, cold frames, row covers, variety selection, and strategic planting timing. Anyone can do this. The structures are simple to build. The techniques are straightforward, and the results are transformative. You'll never buy salad greens in winter again. You'll save hundreds of dollars annually, and you'll have the satisfaction of producing fresh, nutritious food year-round.